Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to unlock a secret superpower in the English language, modal verbs. I know, they might seem a little small, maybe even kind of confusing, but trust me, they're the key to sounding more natural, more confident, and just more nuanced. By the end of this, you're going to be a pro. So let's dive right in.
Should I? Can I? Might I? Ever find yourself just pausing, wondering which of these little words is the right one to use? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. It's a common sticking point, but don't worry, we're about to make it all crystal clear.
So what are these things anyway? Well, the best way to think of them is as helping verbs. They aren't the star of the show, they don't do the main action. Instead, they work with another verb to add this really crucial layer of meaning, things like possibility or ability or giving advice. They're kind of like the support crew that lets the main verb really shine.
Now, before we go any further, there is one golden rule you need to remember. And you're going to love this because it's super simple. A modal verb is always followed by the base form of the verb. That's it. No ing, no ed, no to squeezed in between, just the modal plus the basic verb. If you can remember that one simple thing, you are already halfway there.
First up, let's talk about how you can use modals to give advice or make a suggestion. I mean, this is something we do pretty much every single day, right? So getting this right is incredibly useful. So for giving advice, this is your core toolkit. You've got should, ought to, and had better. They all kind of do a similar job, but as we're about to see, each one has its own unique flavor. Should is your go-to. It's the most common, most neutral way to suggest something is a good idea. And look, it follows our golden rule perfectly. You have the modal, should, plus the base verb, study. See? Simple and effective.
And what if you want to advise against doing something? Easy. You just add not to make it negative. So should becomes shouldn't. Again, it's just shouldn't plus the base verb, watch. This is how you tell someone, hey, this is probably a bad idea.
Okay, this is where it gets interesting, because this is where the nuance comes in. Ought to is basically a slightly more formal version of should. You might use it in a more serious conversation. But had better? Well, that one's a lot stronger. It's not just advice, it's advice that comes with a warning about what might happen if you ignore it.
And this example shows it perfectly. When you say, you had better slow down, you can just feel the implied warning, right? There's a negative consequence just waiting to happen, a speeding ticket, or worse, an accident. It adds this real sense of urgency and seriousness to your advice.
All right, let's switch gears. We're moving from giving advice to talking about possibility. This is for all those things in life that aren't 100% certain. It's how we talk about probability and chance. For this job, your toolkit includes might, may, and could. You're going to use these when you think something is possible, either now or in the future, but you're just not totally sure about it.
Check out this example. I might see you tomorrow. This is definitely not a solid plan. It just signals that there's a chance it'll happen, but hey, no guarantees. It's the perfect way to talk about something that's uncertain. Same idea here. Saying, I may pass the exam expresses a future possibility. You're feeling hopeful, sure, but the outcome isn't set in stone. Both may and might are great for those times when you just can't make a firm promise.
Okay, our next function is kind of a two-for-one deal. We're going to talk about ability, so what someone is capable of doing, and permission, which is all about what someone is allowed to do.
This breaks down the difference so well. Ability is about your skill or your capacity. So, Ali can swim well describes something he's physically able to do. But permission, that's about getting the green light. When you ask, may I go to the washroom, you're not questioning your ability to walk there. You're asking if the rules allow you to leave.
Oh, and here's a fantastic, everyday use of could. You probably use this all the time. While it can talk about ability in the past, it's most often used to make really polite requests. You're basically asking if the other person is able to pass the salt, but what it really means is, please do this for me. It's just a softer, more polite way to ask. Now, for something a bit stronger, let's talk about rules, necessities, and obligations. These are the things in life that aren't just suggestions. They are absolute requirements. The key word here, the heavy hitter, is must. When you use must, it signals that something is not optional. It's a rule, it's a law, it's a very strong obligation. You must wear a seatbelt isn't friendly advice, it's a statement of fact, of necessity. All right, we've covered a lot of theory, and we've built our awesome modal verb toolkit. So now it's your turn to put that new knowledge to the test. Let's try a few practice questions and see how you do.
Okay, time to put your skills to the test. We're going to try a couple of questions right out of this textbook exercise. Let's see if you can pick the right modal verb. You ready for this?
First one up. My grandmother said that we should, or might, call her this week. So what do you think? Is this good advice, or is it just a possibility? Think about what Grandma is really saying here. And the answer is should. Of course. Your grandmother is giving you some good advice. She thinks calling her is the right thing to do. If you used might, it would just imply it's a random possibility. But the whole context here points directly to advice. Nice job.
Okay, let's try a slightly trickier one. That can't or must be the man we saw yesterday. The man we saw was much taller. This one takes a little bit of logical deduction. Which one makes sense? The answer is can't. You've got evidence, the fact that the man was much taller, that gives you logical certainty. You're basically saying it is impossible for it to be the same guy. See, if you used must, you'd be saying you're certain it is him, which totally contradicts your evidence. So let's just do a super quick recap. You now have this amazing toolkit. For giving advice, you've got should. For talking about possibility, you've got might. For showing ability, there's can. For asking permission, you've got may. And for stating those strong obligations, you've got must. You now have the power to add all these different layers of meaning to your conversations.
So the real question isn't just what they mean, but how are you going to use these powerful little tools to express yourself more clearly and with more confidence? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.